Hello, Marisha. Is that how you pronounce your name, right?
It's Merissha, but Merissha is fine.
Marisha.
Hi, Annie.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I do know, I know it is when you get your name incorrect. Marisha.
Merissha.
Marisha, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with me and just having this little chat. I mean, basically, we're just going to be chatting like old friends. But thank you so much for taking this opportunity to just have a conversation about moms and our mom life and everything, and just being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Zanny. Thank you very much. And I think it's really important that as women, we can kind of share our experience and expertise. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child, and not everybody has that village around them. So I really think what you're doing is really, really helpful and really beneficial. So well done.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate hearing stuff like that because I think sometimes like I am doing stuff and I do put it out there for you ladies here in the group to tell me what you want to hear about. And I do hear from you, but I love when I get the feedback that is helpful and it's something that is needed. And you're so right when you say it takes a village. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know. But and the thing is, sometimes it doesn't have to be the village around you too, eh? It could be virtual. It could be like in the group here, support, right? It's just wherever you find your tribe.
I think people nowadays haven't got that same community around them. If you were raising a child 30, 40 years ago, you'd have your family around you. It'd be a different setup. Me, for example, my family are 200 miles around, miles away.
Yeah.
So I've had to really create a different village, a different community to get by. So this is all what we're doing, is just helping people to get by, because it's hard. It's hard. Parenting is hard.
I love that. I love that. You know what? And I don't like to shy away from it because the truth is I do say that too. But I really do believe that we can obviously make it easier on ourselves. But in general, it is hard. You are right. It is
You know
difficult.
what? And I think sometimes women are too hard on themselves and kind of beat themselves up if
Yes.
they have a bad day, or if they don't necessarily always want their kids climbing all over them. Some days my child is just smothering me with kisses, and as much as I love it, some days I'm like, please, because some days it's so all consuming.
Yes.
Some days you just need a
I
break. And
definitely
it
get
depends
you.
on who's around you, what else you've got going on. It is hard. So I'm here to say to women, it's hard. It's hard. It is
Hands
hard.
up, exactly. So before we get into it, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can know your background and like obviously tell us about your motherhood experience a little bit, just a little bit as to so we can have a preliminary view as to what we're talking about. But the topic that I did have up, and we'll obviously go into more deeper things, but we wanna probably center it more around pregnancy at a later stage and a little bit with infertility, and we'll get into that as we go along. But just give us a short introduction about who you are, what you do, and everything.
Okay, so I'm 41. And I wear a number of hats. So by day, I manage a children's mental health service, which is a really challenging job, but I absolutely love it. I also have my own coaching business, and I coach a variety of clients, but I predominantly seem to work with two types of clients. Either women who are kind of trying to get themselves together pre-motherhood, or I find those that have got young children and along the way have lost themselves somewhere. So those are typically the clients that I work with, and it's very much using a range of approaches to help them rediscover who they are and kind of get them back on track, get them back on course.
I
So
love that. That sounds so
yes,
good.
so I'm a coach, I'm a hypnotherapist, I'm an NLP neurolinguistic practitioner, and a CBT therapist. And
Wow.
I'm,
Lots of hats.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm also mum to the most delightful 3-year-old Jasmine. So that's
Oh, the most
probably the
important
most
role.
important hat. Absolutely. I am a mum.
Yes,
And
I
I
love
say that with
that.
pride, because I
Yes,
suppose so long I never thought I would be able to say, I'm a mom, I have a child.
yes.
So I say that very proudly, I am a mom.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that right away. But just before we do say that, I love that you say that because I think sometimes as well as moms too, we're thinking that, oh my goodness, I should just be mom, or it's always like, or you know, maybe that or whatever. I love that we can do now, and it's okay. It's okay. We can have all the hats and be mom and still be happy and still be fun, and it's, you know, it's still doable. I love that.
Yeah, and you know, being a mom is different things to different people. So we can't all assume that what one person wants is what another person wants, and we can't put too much pressure on people or too much pressure on ourselves, because I think it is individual.
Yes.
Um, but yes, now we are in a time where women are wearing multiple hats. You know, you can be the boss of a company, you can be the boss of your house, you know, you can do so many
It's
things. But it's
great.
also recognizing that you can't necessarily do them all at 100%. And that's what I
Yes.
had to realize when I was realizing that, okay, so I've got a full-time job, I'm developing my business, I'm doing this mommy life, and I'm making sure my daughter's got nutritious meals. But I'm getting up at 5:30 and my house is a mess. And it's like something has got to give, because you can't do it all.
Yes.
So yes, you can wear multiple hats, but it's about calling on help when you need it. So I have no
Absolutely.
shame in saying now,
Now.
I'm sick of my house being a mess. I have a cleaner. That's fine, because I can't do it all.
I love that. No, honestly, I had to tell a friend of mine that recently. She's running a cake shop, up and coming, very busy. She's got 2 kids. She's doing this. I'm like, and she's like, oh my gosh, I come home and I have to clean. I'm like, girl, get a cleaner. Even if you have to have a
Right.
cleaner come in once a week, get a cleaner. And she
Yes,
did. She took my
excellent.
advice and she said to me, Zanny, it's the best thing I ever did. And I think sometimes us as mom, we have to wait for people to say it to us, because then we feel like if it's not justified. No, if you need a cleaner, get a cleaner.
Absolutely. And you know, you hear, certainly I heard all these voices. You know, I wasn't raised in a household
Yes,
where we had a cleaner, you know. I was
yes,
the oldest of 3 girls. I was cleaning the house and looking after my sisters and cooking food from an early age. That was
yes.
how I was raised. So to then kind of have to admit that I need help because I can't clean my house initially really felt quite embarrassing, because I was not raised like that, you
Yes,
know?
I know. I know. But I think as moms, we have to prioritize our roles, and that is so important, because as you pointed out so clearly, we cannot do it all 100%. So we've got to evaluate the things that are important to us and the things that we do not have to do, and the things that totally don't need us, we need to just delegate it, and that's that. Okay.
Really.
Perfect. All right, so let's rewind now. Tell us now about your journey into motherhood, which is so interesting, and I really want us to get into this, because I think this is really going to be helpful to a lot of us women here in the group, who I know obviously are preparing for motherhood, and you know there's a lot of things that's going on. So tell us about your journey of becoming a mom, as you were saying.
Yeah, I liked the way you introduced me as kind of being an older mum, because certainly in the hospital, the term is a geriatric mum. You know, so the minute you get to 35, you are a geriatric mom, which sounds horrendous, but
Horrendous.
that is
Yes.
really bad. Yeah, so I was a geriatric mom. I got pregnant at 38. My daughter was born when I was 38. And it was a journey. It was a real journey. I very much had the mindset that I wanted to forge a career first before having children. But I always thought that I probably would have had my children a lot earlier. But you know, life has a way of
Life
throwing you
have.
these curveballs.
Yes.
So yeah, I spent a long time studying, getting my qualifications, forging a career. And then it took me a while to meet my partner. So I met my partner. You know, you court, you enjoy time, and you kind of start preparing for parenthood. So we got the house, we got a dog, we got the car, like literally it was all mapped out.
Yes.
We started trying to conceive. And it's weird because for so many women, you kind of take birth control and you spend so much energy trying not to get pregnant.
Not to.
And you
Yes.
don't realize that actually when it comes to getting pregnant, there might be challenges. Certainly that was my experience when I was about 32. So I'd been on birth control for a number of years, and that was because I'd had a history of really painful and heavy monthly cycles. So I came off the birth control, and I started realizing that I still had kind of really painful and uncomfortable monthly cycles, but I hadn't really connected with it because I'd been on birth control, it had masked it, so I hadn't really seen what real cycles were like. So, you know, you kind of try not to obsess about it because everyone says, don't think about
Don't
it, it
worry.
will happen.
Yes.
When each month goes by, you can't help but kind of get a little bit disappointed. And around you, it seems as if the whole world is pregnant. So I remember constantly hearing this person was pregnant, that person was pregnant.
I know.
And at that point, it probably might have only been about a year or so of trying. But I remember, you know, really starting to break down when I was hearing people were pregnant because I really wanted it so much. And then as time passed by, I started realizing that actually I really was in a lot of pain each month. So this wasn't just pain around my cycle, you know, pop a couple of painkillers. This was, I was passing out with pain. I was not functional. I was backwards and forwards at the GP, and they said I had irritable bowel syndrome. And what I was also realizing was that I was in pain for probably about 3 weeks out of 4. So it was really starting to affect my quality of life. And I kept going to the doctors because I thought, this is not right, but I wasn't happy with the answers I was getting. And I had to end up paying privately. I paid privately to see a gynecologist.
That's because they didn't take you seriously, or they weren't able to identify it.
They weren't taking me seriously, and I knew I was just not right. This just did not feel right, and it was getting worse.
Wow.
And I ended up being diagnosed with endometriosis. So endometriosis, for those people that don't know, is where the lining of your womb grows outside of the womb.
Wow.
So what happens is that it kind of mimics what would happen within the womb, kind of getting ready for fertilization. And then when it's not fertilized, the womb lining will break down. But I was having this inflammation and this pattern in my bowel, in my bladder, my abdomen. I was riddled with it. So I had what they called stage 4 endometriosis because of the coverage. So yeah, it was really, really affecting me. I had a variety of surgeries. So they started off with laser surgery, thinking they could shrink the lining, but within a matter of months it was growing back. And then I ended up having quite extensive surgery, which meant I had to have 10 centimeters of my bowel removed.
Wow.
Because of the coverage of endometriosis. That was major surgery. And then I had to have another surgery on my bladder to remove the endometriosis from my bladder.
Oh my goodness.
In between those 2 surgeries, I had 6 months of hormone treatment to put me in temporary menopause.
Wow.
So, you know, this was
a lot.
It was a lot. And one of the things that I hadn't appreciated is that endometriosis can affect your egg reserve.
Okay.
So as I was starting to go through these tests and going through fertility testing, it turned out that actually my egg reserve was that of somebody who was probably about 10 years older than me.
Wow.
And so I was told that I didn't have a lot of eggs. It was highly unlikely that I was.
So is that partly due to your menopausal treatment that we're giving you? They were giving you for the menopause?
No, so it's amazing. You know, you have biology classes at school, and it's only, for me, it was only kind of going on this journey where I'm really starting to understand the body. So I hadn't realized that when you're born, you are born with your egg reserve. That is it. So what they say was I born with lower numbers, or was it the endometriosis, or was it the treatment, or was I just shedding them quicker? They couldn't tell me.
Wow.
But what they did know is that endometriosis does affect your egg reserve. So yeah, I was told I wouldn't conceive naturally, and
Can you imagine?
The only options would be IVF. You know, so that was a lot. That was a lot to deal with. And I remember I did what I always did at the time, which is I threw myself into work. I threw myself to studying. I managed to get a promotion. I was doing a master's. And it's only reflecting back on it all now that I realised that actually I was probably quite depressed. because this really had affected me.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot to take on, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely a lot. And yeah, and for various reasons, unfortunately, my relationship ended up breaking down. But the fertility issues was a big part of it, because, you know,
Nothing.
you can't just enjoy things and get on with life when you've got
Yes.
this cloud hanging over you, which is filled with your hopes and dreams, and it looks like
It's
it's
not
going to be
happening.
a challenge. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And you know what?
So
That would put a strain on any relationship. First, you got your health issues. Then obviously
yeah,
you're burying in probably, like as you were saying, a little bit of depression, or you probably weren't communicating that with your partner. So there's a lot
yeah,
happening there, right?
there was a lot going on. So then I find myself at 36, I think it was 35, 36. I find myself single, and I thought, okay, this is not going to happen. Well, I take that back, because one part of me said this isn't going to happen, but the other part of me always
Just
believed I was
believe.
going to
Yeah.
have
You had
a
that faith. Yes.
yeah. I
Yeah.
did not know how, I did not know when. I just believed I was going to have a child. I believed I was going to be a mom. I did not believe that I would go through life without
I
experiencing.
love that. I love that, because that's one of the main pillars of what I believe and what I like to help my ladies with. Beliefs are so
Yeah.
important. When you decide on
Yes.
something and you put your heart on it and you believe in that, no matter
Yeah.
come what may, no matter what you're seeing in front of your face, that faith is going to be unshakable, and that's what is going to give you your results. Love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what did I do? I focused on other things. I was still studying, but this was a whole new chapter, because I was just rediscovering being single after a 7-year relationship. You know, I
Wow.
was starting to enjoy life again. And what I was doing, which you will connect with coming from St. Vincent, but I started doing carnivals. I was really getting into carnivals and just enjoying life.
A new
And
lease on life. Yes.
absolutely a whole new lease of life. So it was ironic. I was totally focused on carnivals and enjoying life. And lo and behold, that was when I happened to meet somebody. And we wanted the same thing, but I had said from the start, you know, I might not be able to have children naturally. We might need some assistance if we kind of go down that course. And he said, fine, I acknowledge that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So yeah, continued, relationship grew. We got to a point after a year or so that we were going to think about trying to conceive. So straight away, I kind of had this in my head. As much as I was trying not to stress, I kind of thought, let me get this cycle moving quickly, because if I want NHS IVF, there's going to be a
Yes.
wait, etc., etc. And he kept saying, just chill. And I was like, no,
I
I've got
love
all of
that.
these issues.
Yes.
And yeah, we got pregnant within 3 months of trying naturally.
I love that. I was just waiting for the end results, because I wanted to go right back to when you said you were just enjoying life, you were having fun. This is what relaxation does to you. It helps you to just let go of all of the things that's coming on, the fear, the doubts, the anxiety, the worry. You relax. That's when you welcome in everything. You're able to receive. You're able to receive your partner. And then here you go again. He's telling you to relax. And I think men are huge on this. And to be honest, they may not feel that way, you know, but they do give us that kind of reassurance. Relax, chill. They love to say stuff like that. My husband was like that when we were trying. Relax, chill, take, you know what? And
If they have got any anxiety, they're really good at hiding it.
very good. Right?
Yeah.
And it's
Whereas
good.
we're kind of flapping, and they're like, no,
Yes,
it's
but
fine,
it's
it's
so
fine.
good, because that is when you get results, when you relax, when you do chill, when you're stress free, and you're just focused on like not what you're stressing about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when things happen. I love it. Very good.
And that's what happened. So it was ironic, because the month before I conceived, I had a mini car crash, nothing major at all. But I ended up having a blood clot in my leg.
Oh wow.
So the minute I got pregnant, I was deemed high risk for so many reasons. First, it was the age. Then it was because I had had the blood clots. Then there wasn't entirely sure what was going on internally because of the history of endometriosis, where they're going to be cysts, where they're going to be adhesions, where things stick together, you know, how complicated or not was it going to be. So I found out I was pregnant early January, which was ironic because I'd already booked to do Carnival in Trinidad for the February. Which I did do, 3 months pregnant.
Oh my days.
4 months pregnant.
Yeah.
But yeah, the minute I found out I was pregnant, I had to go on blood thinning injections to thin my blood to reduce the risk of a clot.
Yeah.
So literally from 5 weeks all the way through, I had to inject myself every day.
Wow. But you know what? I could see that because at the end of the day, you do have those conditions. So I wouldn't blame, because that's when you see that medical intervention is actually quite needed. Because as you said before, you had all that history going on. And so I like the fact that they would have put you on a microscope, because then if they just left you, you'll be thinking like, well, I have so much going on. Who's to know what's happening inside? Good.
And honestly, I cannot fault the NHS care that I had, even though it took a while for my diagnosis for the endometriosis. Kind of once I was pregnant, I had a lot of support. So I was seeing a consultant monthly.
Good.
I was seeing a midwife quite early on. But the other thing that I had is I had a number of scares before the 12-month mark. The 12-week mark.
Okay.
So I was in and out of hospital with bleeding, I think from about week 6, week 8, week 10.
Wow.
And I wasn't entirely sure whether or not the pregnancy was going to stick, you know. So it was scary. It was scary. So imagine I've gone on this journey to become pregnant, and then I'm bleeding. So, you know, you're on tenterhooks waiting.
Oh my days, it's a lot. But that just goes to show that your daughter's already predestined for you, right? Like, she's definitely was sent for you. And I love those kind of things. Like, you know, it's like, I think sometimes like these things happen to us just to kind of test our faith too. And I love the fact that you just kind of persevered on that. So we're really grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. And once I got past the 12-week stage, I have to say I had the most wonderful pregnancy. You know, I absolutely enjoyed it. I was one of those moms that was rocking, you know, bodycon dresses right up to 8 months. You know, I was still going to work with my stilettos on and my...
Oh my day.
Now, when I say stilettos, because I wasn't being unsensible, but, you know, I'd kind of put them on when I left the house to walk to the car, and then put them on, walk from the car to the office, just so I still felt like me.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Because there's some moms, obviously, like, you know what, they can't be asked to be dressed up. They just gone into this whole kind of like, I just can't be bothered. But you were still on top of things. You were still feeling your prime.
Everyone is different. So if you're somebody that takes care of yourself beforehand and kind of dresses a certain way. For me, I wanted to hold on to that. So I did. So I still wore my makeup and my bodycon. You know,
I love that. As we were saying before, it's the and. You can have it and.
Yeah, because I was never just going to be mom. Because I had all these other things going on. And I was one of those moms that before the bump was even there, I was kind of, you know, standing there pushing out what was actually probably just air in my stomach, because I was just so proud, you know. This had been my dream for the longest.
I know.
So yeah, it was a dream. I suppose the only thing that was concerning was that I had been told quite early on that because of my age and all the risk factors, that the hospital wouldn't let me labour naturally, and I would have to have a planned C-section.
Okay.
So in one sense, that was a relief, because I've had a history of extreme pain. I knew that the concept of labour actually scared me, because I thought, I don't know if I can cope with the pain.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I did feel a little bit cheated that actually I couldn't even try.
Experience that kind of.
The decision had already been made for me. But actually, through hypnobirthing, because I did.
Tell us about that. Did you actually went to the hypnobirthing course?
I did. And initially, it was, as I said, because I wanted to take control of the pain and not get overwhelmed with it. I was somebody that already did a lot of meditations and kind of really practiced mindfulness.
Yes.
And I knew about the benefits of hypnobirthing, but I really wanted to just embrace and try and enjoy this experience, because I knew kind of how your child comes into the world is really quite key around
Yes.
what kind
Very.
of life they're going to have. So even prior to that, you know, you kind of get your body ready for a pregnancy, you take your vitamins, and then
Yes.
all throughout pregnancy, you know, I made sure my mindset was right. I was happy. I was singing.
I
I was
love this.
dancing.
I love this. Let's really touch on this a little bit, because I think sometimes, and I did even a YouTube video on preparing for parenthood and motherhood and stuff like that. I think sometimes a lot of us don't look into that. Like sometimes we have to revisit past hurts, and like just have a proper mental health, a proper well-being. I love the fact that you're speaking about that, like making sure that you're consciously being happy, not stressed, right? And preparation is so important when it comes to motherhood, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, everything, spiritually.
It is absolutely crucial. And I suppose I was well aware of the kind of components of getting postpartum depression.
Yes.
And kind of living down here with my family away from me. So not necessarily having a support system in the traditional way, but also recognizing that I'd been on a journey. I work in mental health, you know, so I knew
Yes.
that
Yes.
there was a chance that potentially I could have postpartum depression if I didn't take care of me. So for me,
Correct.
it was absolutely crucial that the whole journey, all the way through, was about taking care of me so I could take care of baby.
Love that, love that, love that. I think a lot of times that's missing, and that's what I love. Like people like you and myself, like that is our mission, right? Because sometimes mental health is just slipped away. Like we're just thinking it's like a side thing. You know what I mean? When sometimes, well, not sometimes, when most times well, not even most, all the time, it is the most crucial, because that is what's gonna give us our experiences in life. That's what's gonna make our life. You know what I mean? Like shape our life, our mental health, like how we think, the thoughts that we have, our emotions. It's so important.
It is, and it's very much about developing and strengthening that resilience muscle, because,
Yes.
you know, when that baby comes, as much as people can tell you about it and try and prepare you for it, you cannot prepare for what it is like when you take this child home for the first time. You've suddenly got this responsibility, and it's like, okay, so what happens next, you know?
Exactly.
And then you're getting no sleep. And for me, I was breastfeeding right up to 16 months, which was a joy, but I had a
Wow.
girl who, she would not come off the breast. So every couple of hours, every 2 hours, she was on the breast. And I mean, she was happy, she was healthy, she was thriving.
Yes.
But that is a lot on you. That is a lot.
I know, because I haven't breastfed, and that's the thing I really do miss in my journey. Like I had a really difficult breastfeeding journey, but like my neighbor, for example, we're quite close, and I did hypnobirthing with her and everything, and she's still breastfeeding. Her baby's about 8 months now, and she just explained to me, she's like, "It's not your body, right? It's like it's not like my body. Like I can't go too far, and because I always have to breastfeed." And I could imagine when you're breastfeeding up to 6 months, oh, you could be feeling.
I had the child that would never take a bottle. She never took a bottle. She literally went straight from the boob to drinking out of a
Food.
cup. And that too. So, you know, that was hard as well, because as much as I was trying to express, I couldn't do things. I remember saying to people at one stage, the nail varnish on my toes were older than my child, because, you know, I couldn't get to the nail shop. All I wanted was a pedicure. And people don't tell you about that. So this is why it is so crucial that you really work on building yourself up and having some strategies that you can
Yes.
draw on, because when you're exhausted and when you can't get a break, and when you have a child that won't take a bottle, so daddy can't feed that child, and you're up every 2 hours in the night, that's a lot. That
It's
is a
it's
lot.
a lot. It could be really overwhelming. That's why coping strategies are so important, right? Like things that you would
Yeah.
teach and things that I would teach. Like these are the things that we need to kind of have in our it's a handbag that we can pull out at certain times, right? Let's go back a little bit to obviously you've shared along the way your journey as an older mom, but like what specifically do you think was more difficult for you because you got pregnant like over 35? What do you think was probably more difficult?
Um, I mean, for me, as much as I would have liked to have had my child younger, I think there's a lot of benefits that come with having a child older,
Yes.
because in my earliest phase of life, you know, got my qualifications. When I took maternity leave, I'd stepped out of the job market at a level where financially I was going to be okay, you know, and I knew that once I stepped back in, I would step back in at a certain level.
Yes.
I'd had my holidays, I'd had my adventures, and so I didn't
Carnivals.
carnivals, yeah. So I absolutely did not feel like I was missing out on anything, which is
Yes, I
crucial.
love that. And I agree with that because I got pregnant at 31 and I felt the same way and I still feel the same way. And I always say to
Yeah,
people, it is so important you live your life before because I could see why some moms could get resentful towards their kids because they feel like if they're missing out because of their kids, right? But I really do believe when you get over those things in your life before, now you could fully concentrate on being a mom and being grateful for this time in your life. It's just a different period. So I do agree with that.
yeah. So I absolutely was ready on a number of levels, kind of mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. I was in a good place. And I think I was also there was the right headspace. So, you know, I recognize the importance of what you put into your child. It's setting
Yes.
them up for life, you know, and what you
Yeah.
put in is what you get out. So I really consciously enjoyed my maternity leave, you know. We did a variety of groups. So from 4 months, we were doing baby groups, you know.
Yes, baby sensory classes, love it.
We did sing and sign, like sign language. We did baby massage. We did sensory. We went for
Swimming.
walk. She started swimming at 14 months. So now
Yes,
at 3 years now, she is so confident in the water.
so good.
But we really enjoyed it. So what it meant is when it came to 14 months and I was now really thinking I want to go back to work, you know, I knew I was never going to be a stay-at-home mom because that was just not me. But I was also fortunate that I had this child that was so socialized because she'd been doing it from such an early age.
Yes, yes.
She was more than ready to go to nursery, and actually I knew it was going to do her well.
Yeah, I
So
love that too. I
yeah,
love that because this is the thing, right? Like we don't realize that our mental preparation is helping our babies as well. So the fact that you were ready to be a mother, then therefore you're able to pass that on to your baby by taking her out, getting her social, same thing I did with Zaina, and it's then passes on to those babies. Like they know, I mean, how to fend in the outside world. It's not just you and them. It's really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
setting them up for life. So
yeah.
when she started nursery full time at 14 months, she never cried. I never had that child that cried when I left. It almost broke my heart because I was like, "Do you not want me? You know, we've just spent 14 months together, and now you're not even crying when I go."
Yeah, she's
But
like, I need to see other kids now.
she was fine, Mum. I was like, "Fine," but yeah, she was ready. So I think those are the things that I really think that I appreciated because I was older.
Older. Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you
Um,
think it's like the health is, probably would be the negatives? Or do you think that's because of your history anyway?
I think that was more so my history. I mean, at the point of me getting pregnant, I always lived in the gym. You know, I did weights. I was probably in the best
Super
physical
fit.
shape
Yeah,
that I'd ever
perfect.
been on. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. Kind of, I felt it in my body, and as I said, I had a dream pregnancy in that sense. Um, but yeah, you get tired, and sometimes I do sit there and think, is this because I'm older, or is this just because I'm a mom? And moms get tired. You know, you
Moms get
don't really
tired.
know.
Yeah. I think we probably could sum it up then and say that obviously we're not being what should I say, judgmental, obviously, right? So we know obviously things happen and sometimes the unplanned pregnancies and everything else, but we could
Mm.
safely say that all the moms really probably have it a bit more easier then. We could probably safely say that because we're prepared. Yeah, you definitely, you're taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You're ready for what's happening, and therefore you have all of your tools and techniques that are able to help you then.
Yes and no. I mean, as I said, there are lots of positives and lots of benefits, but I also do see, and particularly with some of the clients that I work with, that actually some of the older moms do end up putting a lot of pressure on themselves
Mm.
because they want things a certain way. You know, their life has been a certain way for so long, and the minute you get pregnant, you can't control that, which is great preparation for having a child, because you absolutely can't control your child, you know. And if you're somebody who is a bit of a control freak, you know, that wants things ordered and organized, that all goes out the window.
That is a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, I love that, because you're so right. You know, as you get older, you're right. You're already set into a routine. You already have a mindset already as to certain things how you want it. As you were saying as well, at that age, you were already planning the house. You have the dog. You have everything going, right? And then when you're then struggling, well, not struggling, but having challenges with your infertility, you could get frustrated much easier, and then you could fall into depression quick. You know, in that sense as well. Yeah.
There was lots of things that could happen, and I suppose my sisters always used to laugh because I'm the oldest and they already had their children. So I was the auntie that couldn't tolerate when all the kids came around at once, because my house was a mess. You know, my beautiful cream sofa, which matched with the rug and everything, was suddenly getting trashed when the kids threw food on the floor. So they used to laugh, and again, those are the things that go out the window when you have a child. And I still have the cream sofas, but I can tell you they're more brown and black and red than they are cream.
You know, I am still that way too, and in a certain sense, as like when Zaina did some things, now she knows the word mess. I'm like, Zaina, you're making a mess. She goes, now mess, when she makes a mess, because she knows the word mess. Because everything now going behind her, cleaning behind her.
But then I knew that I also tried to counterbalance it, because I didn't want this child who thinks that they can't enjoy being a child and can't make a mess. So I've had to learn just to chill out.
Yes, you're right.
Just let my child be a
Many
child.
times I have to tell myself that in my head, Zanny, let her be. She's a child, right?
Yeah.
And I catch myself doing it. I'm like going behind. I'm like, nope. I just leave her. You're right about that, because that's the other thing. Like, I remember my childhood and what I, was able to do, and I don't want my child to feel restricted as, oh my goodness, I can't do this because mom is gonna get upset. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, overall, it has been fantastic. And as I said, my daughter was 3 last week, and she is the most happiest, most delightful thing. And I honestly, now she's at a stage where she's starting to talk back, and there are moments when I could squeeze her a little bit, because she's not this quiet little child that just smiles. She's got an opinion now, and she tells me she doesn't want to wear her trousers to the nursery, she wants to wear a skirt, and I'm like, but that's not what I ironed for you. And she's telling me I'm not wearing it. So I'm getting into it's a different phase, and that, again, that's where I sit there and I think I hear myself say I'm too old for this, when I'm sitting there having a debate with a 3-year-old. I'm too old for this.
And that's one thing as well as being older moms too. And my sister, she jokes with that as well, because similar to you, I am the eldest of my 3 sisters. Luckily, my younger sister doesn't have a baby, but my second one had her baby way before me. So he's like 10 years old now. And she always said to me now, like, now I have Zaina, she's like, I knew Zaina was gonna rule you. In the Caribbean, people will say rule, but like, obviously they think like she can do and get away with everything, because I'm just like, I'm just too old for this. I just can't.
Honestly, and there's so many things where you see people's children having tantrums, and I used to look and think, why can't you control your child? And then you have a child that throws themselves on the floor in the supermarket, and you just want to hide. and I sit there and think, I don't even know how to deal with this child. So there's different strategies. Sometimes
so maybe the discipline does go out the front door for us sometimes.
Well, and again, I was brought up in a household where we did get hit. We did have the stick. We had all kinds of things. My parents are from Jamaica.
Yes.
So we had all kinds of things that we knew that if we pushed our luck, we were in for it. And that's not how you parent nowadays. So I'm using the naughty step, but when your child tells you she's not going in the naughty step, or her latest one is, she's so forward that she knows she's done something wrong, and she goes, I'll take myself to the naughty step now, shall I? What do you
I
do with that
totally
then?
get you. But then you see, this is the thing now when it comes to parenting, right? Because obviously with my partner, like we have different parenting styles. So
Mhm.
just like you, we're both from the Caribbean, but my household, we never got the whooping. Like we used to get loads of shouting at and the eyes, but we didn't get the physical touch. But he's all the
Yeah.
physicals. We're always going like this. I'm like, don't your turn. He's like, she's got to learn. And I'm like, oh.
I think you have to find what works for you. I
Yes.
mean, I very much had it in my head, no, I'm not going to hit my child.
Yes.
My child will sit in the naughty step, or I started with a rocket chart reward system. But sometimes,
It goes out the door.
not that I mean, I don't advocate hitting your child at all. But sometimes you just got to recognize that what you have in your head versus the reality are two different
True,
things.
true.
You just have to go
And
back and
kids
test
know,
it out.
they know because I'm telling you now, I would say something to Zaina and she would not pay attention. The minute her dad says it, it's
Yes.
done. It's done. So
And I hate to tell you this, but that's going to continue.
so you know what I mean, like parenting, and I do think maybe it doesn't have anything to do with age, but I just think sometimes it has to do with your own belief system as well, isn't it? Like your decisions basically of how you want to discipline your child or necessarily, but I think as you get older you do have to think about it as a whole point. Like you actually make a decision of what you want to do. While you're younger, you just kind of go with the flow, I think.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm consciously parenting, you know.
Exactly,
I really think
exactly.
about the implications of what I'm saying, what I'm doing,
I love that. I
what
love
she's
that.
exposed to, but also how do we spend our time. So the fact that I am working and that she's in daycare during the week, I really try and make the weekends meaningful
Yes.
and memorable. And some days we are doing something like we've got a lot of fields around by where we live, so we might be in the fields picking flowers, you know.
Yes. And those are the
We
special times that are so
yeah,
important. Yeah.
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 It doesn't always have to be about spending money. It's
Yes.
about, for me, it's about quality time and making memories that are going to count,
Yes,
that are going to
absolutely. I do believe that without a shadow of doubt, because most of my memories, to be honest, with my family has not even been spending money or whatever. It's just been being together. That was the
yeah,
most important things. And I think that's so important. I love that you brought up conscious parenting. I love that. Just expand on that a little bit. And I think, to be honest, that is another huge benefit of having your baby at an older age, because you can consciously think about it.
yeah. And I suppose in the line of work that I do, as I said,
Yes.
I manage a children's mental health service.
Yes.
And so what I see coming through my service are the implications when parents are not thinking about how they are parenting, you know. So I understand that how people speak to their child can have an
Yes.
emotional impact on them.
Yeah.
And at the more severe end, I see children as young as 5 coming through the door who are suffering from depression, you know, who
Mm.
are suffering from trauma because of all kinds of things that they've been exposed to in their home. So as
Yeah.
an older parent, but also somebody who works in mental health, that is something that I really, really think about. What am I exposing my child to? Down to what is on the TV, down to the music we listen to,
Yes. Yes.
even correcting her because she is getting older and she's mixing with other children at nursery that I can't control. So
Yes.
recently she's been coming home and saying, "Oh my God," and I'm saying to her, "No, we don't say 'Oh my God.' We can say goodness, but we can't say 'Oh my God.'"
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
these are things that if I was distracted, then I wouldn't notice that. And it's not that that's necessarily the
Your
baddest
fault.
thing, but you know, for me, I don't want my child walking around saying, "Oh my God," because that doesn't connect with who I am
Yeah.
and how I work. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you know what? You're so, so right. Like, you have to be honest, I think you're such a strong person to work in mental health, because I remember me, at a younger age thinking about it. And I think I'm like an empath. Like I take on a lot of emotions and I take on a lot of people's like, issues. And I think I will be like, oh my God, I'll probably come home drained because I could imagine what you're seeing on a daily basis. Because, and this is the effects of parenting in our society. This is our effects of family in our society. And so when you see that, you know what you do not want for your child and what you do want for your child. And that's so important.
Yeah, but it is also about having strategies to draw on. So yes, I
Yeah.
do I read all kinds of really disturbing
Really.
referrals.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but since I've become a mom, I am so much more sensitive than I ever was. I cry at
Yes.
everything. I can't watch
Yes.
certain things, anything to do with children, it just
Oh my
touches
goodness, I
me.
noticed that myself. You wouldn't believe it. I was watching a WaterAid commercial with the kids drinking the dirty water. I went and signed up immediately to get my
Yes,
£2. I was like,
yeah,
I was in tears. And before I used to watch these things, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, it used to just, yes, I'd be sad, but I'd just be like, okay. But now, like, it brings tears to my eyes. I totally get you.
the
Yeah,
amount of services and things I end up giving to when it's
yeah,
related to children.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, so I'm exposed to things and I know things, but I also have strategies to manage that, which
yeah,
all parents need. Otherwise, you get
absolutely.
stressed, you get overwhelmed, and that's when the pressure starts building up and you react in a way that may not be consistent with how you want to react. So for
Exactly.
me, I start my morning with meditation. That is
Yes, a solid morning routine. I always preach about that.
absolutely.
Yes,
It's very much about setting yourself up for success. So I
yes,
meditate. I might only do 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, depending
yes.
on whether or not Madam is going to wake up. Um, I do yoga and I love to run as well.
Yes,
So
good.
I have strategies that I can draw on, but people around me know that if I know that my energy is off, if I'm just not feeling right, I will take
Yeah,
myself up and meditate. And
yeah,
it's literally like I've had 2 cups of coffee, I am
absolutely.
transformed.
Yeah, and even going to running, right? It's not even just about being outdoors or being, doing something. It's also about moving your body to get energized and just to get that adrenaline flowing. And all of these things are
Yeah,
so important.
absolutely. It's
Yeah,
absolutely crucial. You get the endorphins going, you're
yeah,
releasing them, and then you're naturally releasing happy chemicals. You can go
exactly.
out, and I'm not advocating that everybody wants to run because that might not be everybody's
No,
thing.
yeah, you're right. I'm
Just
not a runner, but I absolutely do some form of workout every single day in front of my YouTube video. Everybody knows that. I don't like going
yeah.
outdoors because I'm from the Caribbean and I don't like how cold it is. But I put on my YouTube video and I am doing some kind of a 15-minute workout or something. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's not every day that I can go outside,
yeah,
depending on what time my child's starting daycare or what meetings or clients I might have.
yeah,
And I will be doing YouTube as well at
yeah.
9 o'clock once my daughter's gone down.
Exactly,
I am doing
exactly.
YouTube. It will be kettlebell, it will be hit workout. Sometimes it's a soca workout, just something to get me moving.
Yeah, absolutely,
It's
absolutely. Oh
crucial.
my goodness, this conversation is going so well. We're actually coming up to 1 hour. So we've been chatting for so long.
We're
Okay,
both chatterboxes, clearly.
I know. It's been going so well and we've got so much golden nuggets during this time. It's so good. So before we wrap up, just like basically tell us about like what you do and any final thoughts that you want to leave with us before we close out, because I want to obviously not go over so we wouldn't be like here forever.
Yeah, no, I get it. Um, Well, I guess there will be women out there that have had a journey where they have struggled to conceive, and I've been on that journey, and it's difficult. It is difficult. And so when I was really thinking about what I would want to share with you ladies, I would just like to say, first of all, please don't forget that the universe has your back. You really need to let go. And that was something I struggled with as a self-proclaimed control freak, but this is one of the things that you can't control. So
Yeah,
you have to let go. You pray, you meditate, or do whatever is in keeping with your spiritual practice, but let the universe deliver.
true.
Um, and it's really easy to focus on what you don't have when it's something that you so desperately want, but also get into the habit of gratitudes and really being
Amen.
thankful for
Yes,
what you do have. And then that will help you just to feel a bit more positive. I'm not going to sit there and say you won't have your moments when you feel down, because you will,
yeah,
but you really need to try and develop strategies to bring yourself out of that, and gratitude is
absolutely.
key. Um, it's really important as well to seek help and get help if you need that, whatever that help looks like. So whether that's a coach or a therapist,
Yeah,
a
instead of
friend,
struggling on your own. Yeah.
it is, you need to get it out. And I remember kind of 10 years ago when I was going through this journey, I was keeping a journal which I called the pregnant pause, you know, and I was really documenting how I was feeling. And I came across that recently. But that was a way of getting it out, particularly when I couldn't tell my partner everything about how I felt.
Yeah.
And I suppose lastly, just as I've said already, ask, believe, and just be ready to receive. As
Yes.
I said, I knew I was going to be a mom. Now, that journey for me may not have been that I was going to biologically carry my own child.
Yes.
I was open to adoption. I was open to other avenues of having a child, but I knew that I was going to be somebody's mother.
Yes.
So I held on to that. So when you really know what you want and you're really focused, do not give up on it. Ask, believe, and
And
get ready to
receive.
receive.
Yeah, I love that. I really do, because every single thing that you said there, it just resonates with me, because that's exactly what I have in my book. Like I was, just relaying my journey through my pregnancy and even before pregnancy, because just like you, we were trying, obviously not for that long, but we were trying for like over a year as well. Nothing was happening. So I definitely know how it is to kind of feel like, oh my gosh, is this even gonna happen kind of thing? And you're right about that. You have to be able to have that solid, unshakable faith that this is for you. And that's why I so believe in declarations and affirmations. Like, just keep affirming these things to yourself, like without a doubt. Even if you are seeing your period every single month, it is going to happen regardless, right? Yeah, love
Absolutely.
it. Okay, any last words, any wrap up from yourself before we close out? It was so good having you here, having this conversation. It's just been so open, so real. And I know for certain so many women who are going to be watching this back are going to get so much information from this, so much encouragement, so much inspiration, just as I have from your story. So thank you once more before we close out.
Thank you. And if any people want to contact me for coaching, I do have an Instagram page, which is Merissha Gordon Coaching. I have a website, which I'll share some details with. But yeah, we can do virtual coaching. We can have a chat, but just contact me.
Absolutely. Thank you once more. Have a wonderful night, and you'll see your video up soon.
Thank you for having me, Zanny. Thank
Oh, you
you.
are so welcome. Bye now.
Bye-bye.